Hey guys, so today we're going to be taking a look at demonic allies and how I think they're best used and their effectiveness. Something to note, when I'm assessing non-battle line units, I will be taking into account which battle line unit will need to be taken, since that's how the game currently works. For those who are unaware, for every non-battle line demon unit you wish to bring, you need to bring at least one battle line unit of the respective Chaos God. So for example, if wanting to bring Scarbrand, you need to bring a unit of Bloodletters, and if you're wanting to bring, say, Rotigus and a Beast of Nurgle, you need to bring a combination of any two of either Plague Bearers or Nurglings. Before I get into this, thank you all for the support and feedback. This video here is actually a suggestion. I plan to do some Iconoclad games in the next couple of weeks as well, so make sure to keep a lookout for that. And hopefully you can hear myself a bit better. A lot of the feedback in the previous one was I was a bit quiet, so I've had a mess around, and hopefully, yeah, I'm a bit clearer for this. Something else to be aware of for newer players of the game in general: the allies you take do not benefit from their own army rule or yours, so be keeping that in mind when looking at the abilities and rules. So I think what we'll do is we'll go through the data sheets of units that we tend to see taken in Chaos Knights lists, why they're taking, and we'll steer clear of those models and units that will never see the light of day, aka Khorne. So in S tier, we're going to be having the Plague Bearers and the Nurglings, if I can find them. Where are you? There we go. I mean, these are units that you're going to see in 90+% of Chaos Knight lists, if you're not running, all War Dogs basically. Plague Bearers, main thing, sticky, absolutely fantastic. It's not something that you would want to be spending a CP for. Or, if you don't want to put that extra 25 points onto the Stalker for Aura of Terror, you got these things. These are more than survived to the end of the battle as well, I think, than the Stalker. 110 points, toughness 5, 2 wounds each, 2 OC each, 5+ invuln. Fantastic choice, really. You can then use them to screen out your backline or push up to try and secure more objectives going forward. Absolutely fantastic choice. Nurglings infiltrate, they can move block, they can as well screen your backline if you want to. Just fantastic choice, really. They're just an absolute menace. 4 wounds. It's a lot of shots I got to go into them, take them down. 40 points for 3 of them. That's 12 wounds. You're going to have to deal with them at some point. That's just pain, to be honest with you. And a lot of time you're probably going to have that amount of points left over of taking a lot of knights. So there's something to fill the gap as well, really. So yeah, incredible. In A tier, we're going to have Beast of Nurgle, Blue Horrors, and the Changeling. So there's that. And where are we for the Changeling? There we go. So these units that you'll see occasionally, or like if there's a particular style of game that you like to play. For the most part, they're pretty low points as well, obviously, apart from the Blue Horrors, and they're the highest, apart from the Pink Horrors, points for battle line units. Everything else is 110, Blue Horrors are 125. Yeah, these are quite interesting units here. So, Changeling, I use Changeling a lot in pretty much every single one of my Chaos Knight lists. Lone Operative, Stealth, Deep Strike obviously being a demon. So I normally keep this unit in like reserves basically and hope to draw a mission that requires me to be in my opponent's deployment zone by turn 3 basically. Now I'll just deep strike him in. It's got really low area, model is quite small, base is small as well. So yeah, incredible. And his abilities are really handy as well. So, each time an enemy unit wishes to select the Changeling as the target of an attack, needs to take a Battle Shock test. If that test has failed, in addition to being Battle Shocked, the unit cannot target this model at this phase as well. Also, some potential synergy there with Terror Shades. If one of your knights is within 12 inches of that model, potential to inflict some mortals and to heal your own knight as well. It's rare that happens, but there is potential for it. And then the other one, which I think is incredible, a start opponent shooting phase. You can select one enemy unit within 12 and visible. Roll d6 on a 2 to 5. It's -1 to hit, and on a 6, it just can't shoot at all, which is incredible. It doesn't even have to be targeted to use that. It's just you pick one, which is so key. And you get it against like one of their big main damage dealer units. Fantastic. Beast of Nurgle, 65 points for this. So you're looking for a minimum commitment of 105. if you're bringing the Nurglings. So yeah, cheaper than a unit of Plague Bearers, but you got a bit of variation there with what you want to do with it. I've seen people play this a few different ways. So you can either keep it on your home objective, and it's just a nightmare to shift. Basically, the only way is just to out OC it, which is a problem that it has. Only being 2 OC, you wouldn't need a big squad to do that. But having the ability to regenerate all your wounds each phase, if it's not destroyed, is really, really good. It forces a lot of dedicated firepower into it. Another option is deep striking it behind enemy lines, which is, again, another completely valid option. Again, just a menace that you sort of got to deal with. Its attack isn't too bad as well. You know, dev wounds, you're hitting on 4s, yeah, but you can probably cause a fair bit of damage if you roll well. Blue Horrors infiltrate like the Nurglings, but unlike the Nurglings, you have OC. So I run Blue Horrors a lot, try and hide them into some terrain, and then hopefully, if I get first turn, I put them onto objective and hopefully score some secondary if I get lucky with that. They're also a bit of a pain to shift sometimes. So each time one's destroyed, as long as the whole model isn't destroyed in that phase, basically, or in that fighting phase or shooting phase, every time one of your models is destroyed on a 4+, you add a brimstone to it instead. So that allows you as well to potentially move the unit close to objective or further away from something or closer to something to potentially move block or like for a charge or something. Has a lot of versatility with that and a lot of shenanigans you can play with that, which is quite fun. Synergizes well with our rule. So if models within 6 inches, -1 leadership, it can work quite well with that. And also just some mortals wounds delivery as well if you want to explode a Brimstone Horror. Like I said, however, 125 points is a bit more on the price side. It's something you sort of really got to commit to if you do want to go down that route. Oh, and then for the only reason the Changeling isn't in S tier for myself is because you need to take the Blue Horrors, which I know a fair few people may not have in their plans because it is, like I said, a bit of an investment there. In B tier, we're going to have Rotigus and the Great Unclean One. Solid choices, but rarely seen, I think, nowadays. Both are 270 points at the cheapest if you're bringing Nurglings, and with these you've got to commit to getting the best out of them, and I think it depends a lot more on what your opponent brings too. For the most part, you're just going to deep strike them or chuck them on an objective, basically, just to stay there and hold there. So, Rotigus, half OC and half move if an enemy is within 6. That's its main thing that you're looking at, really. 22 wounds, toughness 12, 4 invuln. It's going to take a fair bit of shifting, and that's what you bring it for, really. You just want to plop it down and just hold there. You're not expecting it to do wonders in terms of damage because it really doesn't. It's got a bit of horde, horde clearing. With the sweep, 14 attacks, hitting on 2s, toughness 3 for the most part of enemy units, so winning on 2s, 8 -1 damage each, not too shabby. And it's got some decent anti-elite as well, laser hits as well on those, so it's got potential. And it's got a nice flamer attack as well, 2d6, strength 7, 8 -2, 1 damage each, devastating wounds again, not bad at all. And the Great Unclean One, less wounds, same price, however. But with this one, you'll get a 6 feel no pain. You'll also get you can also choose a model within 12 at any movement phase to have -1 toughness. So that can be really effective sometimes, bringing things below a certain breakpoint. For example, like a Land Raider, toughness 12 for the most part, I believe. Is a Land Raider toughness 12? Am I going mental? I think it's toughness 12. Correct me on that if I'm wrong. But yeah, bring it down to 11 wounds means your Demon Breastplate is now wounding on 3s rather than 4s. It helps a bit. Or just bringing an infantry unit down to from toughness 4, for example, for Marines down to toughness 3. You're then wounding with your Gatling cannon on 2s again instead of 3s. There's little breakpoints I think are really handy for that one, which is quite cool. But yeah, there's that there. In C tier, and now hear me out on this. This is going to be interesting. I have put, I think that's Celeste. and Seekers. So they're only here because if you did happen to bring Demonettes for whatever reason, you like playing Slanesh models, and to be honest, Demonettes 9-inch movement is not too shabby. However, toughness 3, bit of a problem. But they can make up a lot of ground quite quickly. But if you did happen to bring them, these models will pull their weight really, and they'll do their job well. So Celeste is just a menace to get rid of. The main thing you're bringing them for is Delight for Agonies. So the first time it's destroyed, you roll 1d6 at the end of the phase, and the 2+, you set it back up on the battlefield. 4 wounds remaining. Toughness 6, 9 wounds, 4+ invuln. Not bad damage output at all either, in terms of ranged and with melee. So yeah, really handy. Points wise, you're looking at 120 points, so a bit pricey. So you're looking at 230 investment all in all. But she's going to take a couple of phases to get rid of minimum, so quite handy in that regard. And then Seekers, yeah, you got 14-inch movement, you got the Scouts, 9-inch Scout. They can take some objectives early, or they can just move, block, and just hold your opponent in their objective. I think they're 80 points for 5, so really good price for those. You've got a lot of output going out, and yeah, re-rolling charge rolls, +1 to charge rolls. If you get first turn, chances are you should be able to get them into engagement range with something, which is quite handy. Just force your opponent to deal with it then. Toughness 4, 2 wounds each. You're looking at a 10 wound unit, 5+ invuln. As long as you charge well, you should be able to hopefully survive on the return. And yeah, force your opponent to deal with it the next turn really, which is quite nice. And then D tier, we have the Nurgle Demon Prince of Chaos, which is going to be there. And also the Nurgle Soul Grinder. So there. Why Nurgle? Because if you're having to pay more than 40 extra points to get these things on the table, then they're not even going to make the list at all. Now these things are usable, but questionable. And the only reason you probably want to bring one of these is because you got one and want to use it. They won't necessarily be the most point-effective choice, but also they're not really going to slack either. So it could just be a fun pick if you're playing a bit more casually with friends and stuff like that. Very fun choice to take, and I think they'll do what they need to do. They're not going to cost you the game, I think, but they're not going to win you it either. So Soul Grinder. Looking at Nurgle, you got the Phlegm Bombardment. So this works quite well with Chaos Knights in general because 99.9% of the time you're going to be bringing the Havoc Launcher, so you've got even more indirect fire there. But D6+1 blast, strength 7 instead of the strength 5 of the Havoc Launcher. AP -1, unlike the AP nothing of the Havoc Launcher, and 2 damage each rather than the 1 damage of the Havoc Launcher. And this one also has lethal hits as well. So just an all-round upgrade. Toughness 11, so it's got a higher toughness than the Chaos Knights as well. 4+ invuln in melee and ranged, again better than the Chaos Knights. And 14 wounds, again better than the Chaos Knights. 8-inch move is a bit, disappointing for what it is. For the points you cost investing into it is 180 points. So 220 to get this thing on the table, but I think it has promise. It's fun, it's different. Is it going to last into next edition? We don't have a clue. But yeah, I think it'd be much worse. I think you get a lot of output out of this. It's melee as well, just a slightly worse Slaughter Claw. 5 attacks, hitting on 3s, strength 16, AP -3, D6+2 damage each. Not slacking at all in any way. You can push up the table, hold it back, whatever you want to do. I think it could be a bit of a distraction card effects kind of thing for your opponent. But yeah, to be honest, I might try running one just to see how it works, and see if I can move it up that list after some trying out really. And the final one is the Demon Prince of Chaos. So again, Nurgle +1 toughness. Putting on that toughness 11 breakpoint is quite nice. There's quite a few tough like strength 10 damage profiles out there. And for a lot of the strength 5 or strength 6 weapons, you're putting it on a... Oh, it's already going to be 5 anyway. But yeah. Also get stealth, and once per phase, you can give it 3+. Once per battle, at the start of phase, you can give it 3+ invuln. Helps longevity a bit. It's its ranged isn't really anything to shout about at all. But its melee, it's got some okay anti-elite. 6 attacks, hitting on 2s, strength 8, 8 minus 2, 3 damage each. You probably take a few out. And then if you do want to try and survive that hit back as well, depends what you're going into. You got a 3+ invuln you can pop at the beginning as well. But yeah, I don't think there's really anything else demon-wise that you'd even think about putting into a Chaos Knight list, I'll be honest with you. Nothing else here really looks like it could be effective in any way, or would benefit your army in any way, or wouldn't, hold your army back at all. So yeah, that is my tier list for the units that you would probably want to bring as allies into your Chaos Knight army. Obviously, please let me know in the comments below if you have any other suggestions you think, or things you've tried out, or even units you want me to try and see how they work really, and I'll be more than happy to see how they go. But yeah, thank you very much guys, take care.